As Caroline mentioned, we have some tremendous news thanks to President Donald J. Trump once again for the American people. As soon as the President of the United States took office, he issued a mandate to rid America of the scourge that is fentanyl, a drug that has killed hundreds of thousands of Americans. Thanks to his leadership and direct engagements with China, we set up a framework to execute that mission 8 months ago. Attorney General Bondi immediately thereafter took steps to engage her counterpart in China at the Ministry of Public Security. Pursuant to their direct discussions, as the FBI director designated to run counterpoint on this, along with the Secretary of State Rubio and Ambassador Perdue and the team here at the White House, we set forward a path to implement the policy needed to crush the plague of fentanyl. Deputy Attorney General Blanche and our teams have been hard at work ever since, ultimately culminating in my trip to Beijing last week. This was only possible due to President Trump's historic engagement with President Xi just a few short weeks ago that set the stage for today's announcement. At that meeting, the leaders reached an agreement. But just to put this in frame for the American people, a reminder here that nearly 100,000 people died of fentanyl overdoses just last year alone. Here, this year, under this president, the FBI has seized 1,900 kilograms of fentanyl so far. That is a 31% increase from the same time period last year. To put it in perspective, that's enough fentanyl to kill 127 million Americans. Fentanyl precursors are what makes up fentanyl. While we, the interagency, the Department of Justice, have been fighting hard to seize and stop drug traffickers, we must attack fentanyl precursors.
What does he mean by fentanyl precursors? Basically, the raw ingredients that make fentanyl. So they're saying that there's 13 chemicals that make up fentanyl. So you basically, it's like a recipe. You put these 13 together, now you got fentanyl. So what they're trying to do is they're going to target and basically list these 13 chemicals. And now with China, because they're the ones that produce this, they can basically say that these are illegal to export. Only keep it in China for their products that they're making. Because typically they're not making fentanyl. They're usually making this ingredient for this ingredient for this. So this is amazing for America because what America is doing, they're targeting the cartels. The fentanyl comes from the cartels in Mexico. They go through the border. It gets inside America. And next you know, you got a little bit under 100,000 deaths just straight due to fentanyl. Fentanyl is laced in everything. They put people have passed away with fentanyl laced with cocaine, all of that. This is why we tell kids don't do drugs, period, because you never know what's in it, right? But this is big news because China is finally listing the 13 chemicals that are in fentanyl and making it illegal to export. Because typically, when you're buying something, you can just buy the raw ingredients and have it export to you. But what's been happening with these cartels, they've been buying these 13 chemicals separately, bring it to the shop, bring it and cook it up. And as you know, you have fentanyl. So this is why it's big news because it's finally getting listed. Also, there's 7 companies that in China that produce these raw ingredients, and now China has a strong hold on these companies and monitoring them very closely so they don't sell these ingredients or try to work around it or anything like that. So this is great news. This is what happens when the US and China work together. Obviously, you know a deal is for a deal, right? Hey, we need you to help us stop the fentanyl. We're gonna open up our borders and maybe give you a better what you call it, a better tariff price. You already know it's a deal, but this is a great deal because we're saving American lives. You know, fentanyl has a huge effect on people between 18 and 45. So this is the deal we got to make, and this is the deal we got to make to save American lives. You have to understand, man, President Trump is the man of the deal. He's the art of the deal. You can't make deals. You can't force somebody to do something without giving them something so they can feel good about making that decision. So when people say that Trump is a bully, how is he a bully? He's handing out deals to where the country is still benefiting in a different way. Hey, we're going to lower our tariffs a little bit. We're going to let you bring some people over here to teach our people how to actually build the things that you're bringing over here. But we need you to stop the fentanyl crisis. You guys are the major leader of the raw materials. We need you to stop that. That's what the deal is about. Everybody wins. But people are saying that Trump is a tyrant. He's being a bully. He's not being a bully. He's making deals. And he's making deals in the best interest of the American people. We gonna buy stuff regardless. Okay. Everything is made that we have is made from China, most likely. So he knows that. He knows that their government, their economy is suffering. So if I'm gonna bring this down for you guys to make money, I need you to take care of the fentanyl crisis. Doesn't that sound like a win-win to you? I hate using that term, but both sides are good with that. But we're keeping our youth and keeping young people safe from killing themselves. So what's wrong with this deal? There's nothing wrong with this deal. It makes total sense for us to do this deal to save American people. And they're trying to, you know, get one up on the cartel.
Ingredients necessary to make this lethal drug. That was the sole purpose of my trip to China, to eliminate these precursors. And if successful, we would suffocate the drug trafficking organization's ability to manufacture fentanyl in places like Mexico. This was the first time an FBI director has been to China in over a decade and received the audience with his counterpart to address this matter directly. And again, thanks to President Trump's direct engagement with President Xi, the government of China committed fully to my engagement there on the ground in Beijing at a level never seen before. While at Ministry of Public Security headquarters, I met with my counterpart at MPS, where the Chinese government agreed on a plan to stop fentanyl precursors. What does that mean? The People's Republic of China has fully designated and listed all 13 precursors utilized to make fentanyl. Furthermore, they have agreed to control 7 chemical subsidiaries that are also utilized to produce this lethal drug. Effective immediately, essentially, President Trump has shut off the pipeline that creates fentanyl that kills tens of thousands of Americans. These substances are now banned, and they will no longer be utilized by the Mexican drug trafficking organizations or any other DTOs around the world to make this drug. This historic achievement has saved tens of thousands of lives. This historic achievement would not have been possible without the tremendous team of President Trump, the Attorney General, the Department of Justice, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and Ambassador Perdue in China, whose ground-level engagements were imperative to achieving this result. This is yet another example of how President Trump defends the American people, provides security for the American people, and puts the American people first. This is a historic first-in-its-kind achievement by any president to stop the scourge of fentanyl, and it should be championed by every single American. This achievement will save lives.
You gotta love it as an American. Doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican, you should be clapping. You should feel happy that your kids don't have to worry about fentanyl. Doesn't matter, man. This dude's doing stuff for the American country to make sure that we straight. What's the problem? He's stopping the fentanyl. But this is what I'm saying. When you are making deals, you know China needs America. No matter what you hear about China, they say we don't need America. You need America. We buy a lot of your products. We're your number one consumer, probably for sure. But we need you to stop producing that or stop, just sending out these chemicals to make fentanyl because it end up coming back to our country and killing our people. It kills us because we're the number one consumer. Our money is our bargaining chip. Our president knows that. We are consumers. That's just what we are. We're working on being producers too, but we are mainly consumers. So what do we need to do? We need to use our money as a bargaining chip. He did that. He stopped fentanyl just by a deal, just by saying no to China, not letting them do what they want, raising tariffs 100%, 200%. He keeps raising it because I guarantee you the number one issue was the fentanyl crisis. That has to come to an end. And he did it. So as Americans, stop thinking left or right or you don't like Trump because what he said before, this and that. Just think about yourself, think about your kids and say, this is one less thing I have to worry about in my country.